Every time you see this, you multiply. A negative times a negative equals a positive. A negative times a negative equals a positive. Say it. A negative times a negative equals a positive. Say it. A negative times a negative equals a positive.
I understand nothing.
Hi, I'm Philip Brown. I'm the Bearded Math Man, and welcome to Wednesday's Why.
Hi.
As always, with Wednesday's Why, I'll pick a topic and unpack it for you. My hope is that you will increase your conceptual understanding of the thing we're going to talk about today, as well as improve your ability to unpack things on your own. So, let's get started.
In this week's edition of Wednesday's Why, I'd like to discuss with you one of the things that gets messed up most often: signs. Consider -2 squared. This, if you type it into a calculator, says -4. And that's correct. It is -4. So let's put it in context so we can understand that a little better. If you do 5 minus 2 squared, well, that's easily seen as 5 minus 4, so that's, of course, 1. One way to think about it is, well, -2 squared is really -1 times 2 squared. Totally different than -2 quantity squared. That's the opposite of 2 squared, which would be a negative times a negative. Whereas the other way, it's -1 times 2 times 2. Gives you -4. So let's take a look at a couple of ways that this gets embedded into bigger problems where you might mess up the calculation just because you don't recognize what's going on.
So again, the idea is that we are going to focus on reading the math so that we can have a deeper understanding of what's actually going on. What you see here is on the left there are 3 expressions, and on the right there are 3 expressions. 2 of these are equal, and 2 of these are equal. And it's tricky because what we have at play here is we have exponents, we have multiplication of integers, and we have order of operations because we have things grouped with parentheses. So on the left, this is different than the other 2. The other 2 are positive, this one is negative. And on the right, this one is different because these 2 are negative and this one is positive. In case you don't know, let's go ahead and spell this out explicitly. See, a pair of negatives, a negative times a negative is positive. See, negative times a negative is positive, and again. So we have an even number. That means they break up into groups of 2. Whereas if we had an odd number, we would have some groups of 2, but we'd have 1 left over. So you'd end up with a negative times a positive, which would leave you a negative. Just to be 100% explicit, if you have an even number of negatives multiplying, the outcome, the product's going to be even. Whereas if you have an odd number of negatives multiplying, the product will be odd. Another thing that's at play here is the difference between these 2. And this is kind of what motivated me to make this short video anyway. These 2 are totally different. This is 3 times -1 times x squared, whereas this is 3 times -x squared. The way we say it doesn't make a lot of difference. If it was written out, we'd have some commas when we'd say 3 times -x squared. This one is 3 times -1 times x squared. The top one is -3x squared, and the bottom one is positive 3x squared. Now, this will often be embedded in, the thing I'm teaching right now to students is properties of exponents. So one thing to be careful of right here, and this might be going a little beyond the scope of the original intent of this video, negative exponent does not change the sign of any of these bases. A negative exponent is repeated division, so we don't have to worry about that too much as far as what we're focusing on for this quick thing. So let's take a look at this pair of 2's right here. This is -2 to the power of 1 times x cubed. And this is -2 cubed. So even if I put parentheses right here, it doesn't change its value. It stays exactly the same. It's going to be a -8 either way. What we've got is we've got a -2 times -2 cubed. So that's going to be a negative times a negative is positive. So that's going to be 2 to the 4th. And then that's going to be, we're going to go ahead and write x to the -1, putting these 2 together right here. Now let's take a look at this part. This is a -2 to the 5th power. That's going to be -2 to the 5th. It doesn't matter if you have parentheses or if you don't have parentheses. Either way, it's going to be a negative because it's a negative times itself an odd number of times. So what this is going to give us, it's going to give us a negative 2 to the 5th, and then of course x to the 15th. So let's put these two together. That's a negative times a positive. That is negative 2 to the 9th, and then x to the 14th. When you're working on a math problem and you've got a whole bunch of embedded negative signs, you better be very, very careful and take your time. I hope this was helpful and interesting. If it was, you could really help me out. Just click like and share and maybe tell some people about it. You can also visit my website, thebeardedmathman.com, where I go into greater detail into these things that I discuss in Wednesday's Wise episodes. Anyway, thanks for watching.